Here's my take. I think people are really not ready to witness the way that tech bros, culture in general, is about to absorb and welcome and make peace with MAGA culture. I'm here with the Recount's senior political correspondent and author of the Recount's newsletter, Steve Morris. Thank you for being here. I actually wanted to start because you kind of prompted this idea and planted this seed in my brain of looking out for any indicators, the Zuckerberg indicators, as maybe you want to call it, of where culture is going. Can you talk to me a little bit about your Zuckerberg musings that you wrote about the other day?
Yeah, so if you're not subscribed to the Recount newsletter, you can always do that. But I mean, I think what's interesting about Mark Zuckerberg is that you look at him the past 15 years, he's basically been this Forrest Gump figure in where elite, well-off culture is going, right? Like he funded charter schools when that was very in vogue. He backed marriage equality when everybody was changing their profile pictures on Facebook, whatever. He clamped down on misinformation and fake news when that was what people were doing in 2016, 2017.
Booted him off the platforms.
He booted Trump off the platforms when it looked like Trump was like a pariah who was never going to come back in 2021. And now he is kind of at the vanguard of this changing culture, unleashing whatever you want to think about it, changing the culture of what you can and cannot say on meta platforms. And that, to me, as you've noted, indicates a pretty sizable change in macro level indicators.
I think so, because I'm looking at like what trends are we going to see. I feel like people have been a little bit blindsided by the fact that people seem a lot more accepting of Trump. Like they accept him for who he is and find him to be like an inevitable force at this point. And we're seeing that on like a really large scale, starting with the social media platforms. So obviously Elon has become his, I don't know, partner in crime, bestie forever. Advisor.
Friend,
yeah.
Prime Minister.
Literally prime minister, shadowy government figure who we now have to deal with. And he took the left turn, or the right turn actually, that a lot of like young men in America are taking too. Do you feel like there's a comfortability that tech, a lot of people call them oligarchs, bros, I like to say, are feeling that they didn't feel before?
So I think it's funny because there's basically three buckets to this, right? There's the first, which is in 2016, Trump was indeed commanded 46% of the vote or so, and was kind of this fluke president who very narrowly won the swing states and lost the popular vote by the largest margin in forever for an incoming president. The second was the response from liberals and people in charge of a lot of cultural institutions was kind of cordoning him off, creating this barrier. But you could do that because of the first one, which was he didn't have a huge sway in the country. And then the third is that first bucket has changed. He no longer is a minority of the country, although technically 49.8% or so. He has now commanded a win in the popular vote, and every time he's run for president, he has gotten more raw votes and a larger percentage of the vote over the past three cycles. So now it's a conversation about whether or not you can even do that anymore, and the answer to that is resoundingly no.
The liberal constant reaction of how could you normalize them, how could you bring them into our culture, open the door for them and welcome them into our culture and trend circles, right?
Yeah.
I've always had an issue with normalization as a word that people use as like the operative word here. They are normalized. He is the president. Yeah. She is the first lady, whether you like it or not. There are more of them right now than there are of you.
Yeah.
How do you think that this is going to be a cycle that continues, or are people going to slowly, begrudgingly perhaps, accept that you need to make peace with your new neighbors?
In European politics, there's this long-standing expectation, basically since World War II, that mainstream political parties, including center-right parties, will not cooperate with far-right parties.
Right.
Or won't build parliamentary majorities with them. It's called cordon sanitaire. And it's basically saying, no matter what happens, we would rather build a coalition with people who we have less ideologically in common with on spending or taxes or whatever, you know, to the left of us or to the right of us, than legitimize this force that we're not going to include. There's a lot of conversation in Europe right now about that slowly eroding and being gotten rid of. And again, you can kind of have this conversation about, was that ever right? Was it ever right to classify this or that party as being actually outside of the mainstream. And I think that's what will be indicated, whether it's Vogue or Sweet Green or TikTokers. You just can't really ignore tens of millions of people if you are trying to cater to everyone. If you want a small corner, go for it. But I think we're seeing a paradigm shift here that will also prompt a lot of people, I think, to reevaluate how insulated they might have been before now. Part of what this is all thrown into stark relief is the question of, was Mark Zuckerberg or any of these people, were they ever actually liberals? Like, was that an earnest belief in...
No.
And then that prompts the question of, like, what does it do for a political movement, in this case, the anti-Trump whatever, when you are premising a lot of your tactics on people who don't actually agree with you, like Mark Zuckerberg, feeling pressured into adopting policies that aid you, you know? What happens when the bottom drops out and his incentive is no longer there to help you?
The bottom line here is and has always been money. If they have paying customers in the tens of millions of people that are that are part of the community that they've rejected for the past 10, 15, honestly 20 years since Obama's been in office, once they realize that they have money to spend, they're going to dismantle this idea that, like, those are all, you know, poor, lower middle class people who can't afford to contribute to, like, their economic bottom line. Of course they're going to welcome in those people.
Yeah, totally.
Because you're right, they haven't cared about exactly what they'll say that on paper they care about the ideological difference, but their pockets are going to get lined and they're going to be able to publish 5 more magazines or run 12 more fashion influencer campaigns with money from
Trump.
The right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're going to.
I mean, and that's the thing that is so funny to me when somebody does something like this and the social media response is, wow, I guess you really didn't care about whatever. And it's like, you need to reckon with, no, Target never actually cared about LGBTQ pride.
Yeah.
What they cared about was selling Pride merch, you know? And so to me, the thing I'm going to be watching most closely and most interested in is whether or not conservatives kind of make the same mistake that liberals did, which is trusting that Google and Facebook and Meta and whatever are actually loyal to them over wanting to make money.
It reveals the fact that this has always been about class and money and not party to me. And it's something that we're going to explore and will be revealed as we keep moving into the Trump administration. Just the last thing that I want to go over is how Trump functions in all of this, because he is the celebrity president. You know, yes, Ronald Reagan was a celebrity, but Donald Trump is the celebrity president in the way that he did TV every week for years. He's a stunt queen. He's literally a stunt queen. When he walked out at inauguration through the crowd, shaking hands, fist pumping, everybody was like, this is a WWE entrance. We live in a world right now where, because of social media, because of influencers, because of that culture, people want stunts. People want, like, loud, captivating drama. What are we seeing in terms of, like, how the political and celebrity things intersect?
I mean, I think part of the interesting thing is politics has been choreographed for decades, right? Yeah. Like when Bill Clinton came out and was acknowledging his affair with an intern and the way Hillary Clinton was positioned with him, or like the interviews they did during the 92 campaign when his first affair allegations were coming out, these were all choreographed. These were all drama and
PR.
Fake in a way. Yeah. So part of the thing with Trump is you can't really say he's the first person to introduce these things. He's just kind of bringing it more to the surface.
And doing it better.
Doing it better, and also a little more honestly.
Yeah.
He's more honest about the fact that this is fake and for show in a way.
Yes. I think as these things keep floating along in front of us, we're going to keep poking holes in all of them. We want to see where the trends are going, what trends are leaving in the past. I can't wait to see where this goes. Stay sane. Stay subscribed. Stay with your notifications on. Stay commenting, liking to WTF America right here on the Recounts YouTube.